Yo, what is up guys, Ghost here. So today we're going to be taking a look at a new game that I've had my eye on for a long time actually, ever since it was announced. This game harkens back to a classic series that I played a bunch as a kid growing up in the 90s on the Sega Genesis, or the Mega Drive if you're from the UK like I am, and that is the Strike series of games such as Desert Strike, Jungle Strike, Urban Strike, and etc. that were developed and published by EA during the glory days, right, when EA weren't just a publisher but they were also a developer as well. And it was this series of games that, I think really gave me my first taste of an isometric game that created the illusion of a 3D world without actually having 3D graphics. Let's remember, those didn't really come along properly until the N64 and the PlayStation 1 arrived. Not only that, but this series of games made me absolutely fall in love with the AH-64 Apache helicopter, and you guys know me when I'm playing Battlefield, I like my air vehicles, and this may have been the start of all that. It's just such a badass piece of machinery. But this is Megacopter Blades of the Goddess. It's as if all of the Strike games had a bloodthirsty helicopter baby that was into retro synth music. So you are piloting a sentient helicopter that longs for nothing more than to rip out your heart and eat it. Now, I know it looks a bit zany, and we'll get to that in a minute. So whilst its gameplay is clearly inspired by the Strike games, the storyline is anything but serious. The dialogue is honestly hilarious, and man is it fun to play. This game just absolutely oozes charm. I really like, the simple aesthetic that they've gone for here. It really just hits that retro nostalgia vibe, and the music is incredible as well. Like when the shit hits the fan and you're getting swarmed by enemies, that music just gets you in the zone at precisely the right moment, and it really is a massive throwback to those games of the 90s and the same sort of feeling they gave you then. So you've got 4 different biomes to enjoy here. There's a forest, there's a desert, there is an ocean with lots of islands, and then the final biome, which is sort of a noxious, toxic world where the bad guy, Jeff, resides.
My name is Jeff.
Now, Jeff is the leader of the Reptoids, who are on a mission to poison the world with some kind of toxic pizza. Yeah, I told you it was pretty ridiculous, but it's kind of like a good dad joke. You've got to go all in and fully embrace the cringe of the joke in order to make it funny. And Pizza Bear Games, the developers of Megacopter, have seemingly applied the same theory to the zany, wacky storyline in Megacopter. So you'll be sent on missions with varying objectives. Sometimes you've got to kill stuff, sometimes you need to defend against waves of enemies, and sometimes you need to deliver pizzas. And of course, in classic Strike style, each of the biomes culminates in an epic boss fight, which are not particularly easy. Don't let the light-hearted, goofy nature of this game fool you, because it is definitely a challenge. You'll face off against a varied assortment of enemies that ramp up in difficulty, starting off against simple reptoids with rifles and lock-on missiles, and then later you'll be facing things like tanks, helicopters, kamikaze drones, stationary turrets, and massive cruisers. And when all of these enemies are combined on screen, it can really make for some tense moments. There are checkpoints in this game, but they are generally only for boss fights, so if you die, you're going to have to start a level again, just like it was in the good old days, which personally I really like. Luckily though, the controls are pretty solid, so you use WASD or your left stick on controller to move the helicopter forwards, backwards, left and right, and then the right stick or your mouse hand to turn the helicopter and aim closer or further away. It's pretty intuitive, honestly, once you get the hang of it, and the auto-aim the game has works almost flawlessly as well. Now, normally I'm not a big fan of auto-aim, especially when I'm using a mouse on a PC game, but for this particular title here, and let's remember that the Strike games were originally made on console, on the Sega Genesis, it really is something you need. You're going to be moving around a hell of a lot, and keeping track of the enemy as you're moving the helicopter around without auto-aim is, well, maybe an extra challenge you can add in there for yourself, but I would definitely recommend using it. Now, outside of killing enemies, as you fly around, just like in the Strike games, you'll be able to use your grappling hook to pick up various items like different types of ammo, armor, and of course the all-important Pizza Bear tokens that you'll need to unlock new weaponry. As you progress through the missions, there are a bunch of weapons to unlock along the way, from chain guns to plasma cannons and cluster missiles, along with various upgrades for them, like decreased reload times or increased ammo capacity. So that does offer some replayability there, allowing you the option to take different loadouts for multiple playthroughs. However, on that note, I will say that the game is relatively short. It took me around 7 hours to finish it, getting 29 out of the 32 available achievements, and once you finish the campaign, there is no New Game Plus or like a harder difficulty with more enemies or anything like that, which I think this game could really benefit from. You know, maybe some kind of an arcade mode could be cool, since after all, it's really the gameplay that shines here. Yes, there is a storyline in the main campaign, but I think the reason that people are going to play this game is for the gameplay, and so I feel it would be pretty easy for the developer to sort of tack on some sort of repeatable mode, maybe implement a scoring system so that whenever you pick up ammo on the battlefield, even if it's not ammo that you have a weapon for on your helicopter, you still get some points for it, right? You get points for killing enemies, and maybe they could implement some sort of a leaderboard and you could try to beat people on that leaderboard. Now, as I already mentioned, this helicopter wants blood, and as you fly around, you will find these poor sods on sacrificial altars. Don't ask me how they got there, but if you interact with them, you can rip out their hearts, which can then be spent on Aztec upgrades. So these are like your helicopter's ultimate ability. The more hearts you collect, the more you can upgrade them. And then as you kill enemies, they will occasionally drop blood for you, which can then be consumed to activate your Aztec ability. So there are multiple ones to pick from here, such as a defensive shield, an area of effect attack, or my favorite one, which was a controllable missile that blows up pretty much everything on the screen. In addition, you can also spend these hearts to upgrade your countermeasures, and here you've got two different choices. So you have a dodge ability to mostly help you get out the way of enemy incoming projectiles and lock on missiles and things like that. Or you have the equivalent of flares, which I found super helpful against all of those heat-seeking missiles, because once you get to some of the later levels, you'll have enemies that launch multiple heat-seeking missiles at once, and they don't exactly track you super fast. You do have a lot of time to get out of the way of them, but they do take some time to perish and basically, you know, run out of steam. So having the countermeasures is actually really cool. I found that it's sort of like a little mini game you have to play, you know, maneuvering your heli in the right direction against the tracking of the missile to make the two collide and really allow you to optimize your time in the air to do as much damage as possible. So overall here, I think Megacopter is a super solid game. I had a lot of fun playing this. The only thing I can really fault is the amount of content. Like I said previously, this is a perfect game to implement some kind of an arcade mode like the endless wave mode, or hard modes for all of the levels with, you know, more enemies to deal with. So I do think that is something that the devs should explore if they're able to, but at the same time, even though I was pretty much done with the game after 7 hours at a price of $15, and it's 10% off at the moment as well, I'd say that's a totally fair price. This game really whisked me away to the 90s, and it made me feel like I was stood in an arcade again. This game, it feels like childhood to me. On the other hand, if you're perhaps not quite as old as I am, this is a great opportunity to play a game with a lot of character that isn't caught up in the problems that today's AAA games market faces, like battle passes and in-game stores with monetization, and, you know, basically all of the modern parts of gaming that I think most of us wish we could see removed. It has 100% positive reviews on Steam right now, a site that you don't really see too often these days, and for good reason. So if you like the look of the game, I'll leave a link to it down below. Just to be clear, by the way, this video isn't sponsored in any way. The developers did give me a key for the game, which was very kind of them and appreciated, but even if they hadn't done that, I would have 100% bought this game, because like I said, it's been on my radar for a long time, and I don't know, you know, sometimes I think games like this, they just deserve a bit of a shout out, and to me, this is a bit of a hidden gem. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Leave a comment down below and let me know what you think of the game, and I'll see you in the next one.